Hi, this is Bob Samuels, founder of TechConnectr. TechConnectr is a marketplace and campaign management platform of best-of-breed, account-based marketing lead gen solutions. We help marketers deliver highly targeted, quality leads for their sales teams. We've partnered with the B2B Marketing Exchange to bring you wisdom from leading account-based marketing thought leaders. To that end, I'm proud to introduce one of the world's leading experts, Jay McBain, Principal Analyst of Global Channels for Forrester. How are you today, Jay?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to speak with you. So I know that you've been around in the channel business for what, 20, 25 years now?
About that, I'm starting to get aged.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by definition, I think of channel marketing, and I know ABM is a new term. It really means targeted marketing or named accounts, but that I imagine that's a big part of channel marketing today.
It absolutely is. So if you look across the world and if you look across the 27 industries, 75% of world trade today goes indirectly through some type of third-party companies. And even though companies have invested so much in terms of direct marketing and direct sales and everything else, it's usually less than half, and globally, a quarter of the business. And we think it's the biggest opportunity to really drive revenue and enhance your ABM strategies via third parties.
Excellent. And I assume that's not it's a growing business. It's continuing to grow as far as a percentage share.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest change that we're seeing, by the way, is around influencers and advocates. And B2B buyers, for example, are starting to look more like B2C buyers with how much research they do before they talk to somebody, and even some of their behaviors, during the buying cycle. And these non-transacting partners, these people who help customers along their journey, are really interesting to brands as they try to figure out how to corral them and motivate them and co-sell and co-market with them. So a really growing area.
So it sounds there's a lot more influencers involved than just the direct client.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, do you have any interesting account-based marketing success stories offhand that you could share? Otherwise, I'll want to talk to you about your presentation that's coming up at the B2B MX.
Yeah, as you can imagine, Forrester spends a lot of time on ABM. We've got dedicated ABM analysts. And I look at ABM actually in two ways, and I end up talking about it almost every day, because many companies that are out there, for example, in the technology space, one of their big potential partners today around digital transformation and business transformation, what customers are thinking, system integrators are, a big influence. So these are companies like Accenture and Deloitte and PwC, and the top 10 by name. And these companies are massive. Accenture has 450,000 people. So you don't just go and recruit them at a trade show, and you don't just send them an email and sign them up. It takes an ABM approach to go win or recruit a new partner of that size and magnitude. And we're starting to see ABM come into channel recruitment as a key way of getting some of these larger resellers and alliances signed up. So it's kind of an interesting way to think of it, not just at the end client level, but in terms of building your channel as well.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So your presentation at the B2B MX, through channel marketing, how new tools and services will accelerate partner programs. Uh, Tell us a little bit about through channel marketing automation. What exactly is that?
Well, it's interesting. So when you look at 75% of trade, world trade that goes indirectly, you've got local businesses, you've got a whole myriad of local or distributed businesses that impact your customer. They might buy directly from a local franchise or a local insurance agent or pharmaceutical rep or technology VAR, whatever industry it's in. But again, if you look backwards, 20 years ago, companies invested heavily into CRM. And we know Salesforce and Dynamics and the other winners there. 10 years ago, they invested heavily in marketing automation. So we know Marketo and Pardot and Eloqua and the winners there. But for 20 years now, a lot of the focus has been on direct selling, direct marketing, building out that process, making it a science as opposed to an art. What's missing in this equation is that third stage, which is how do you market and co-sell with all of these different agents or franchises or retailers or others that are basically the last mile between you and your customer? And how do you market to them, through them, and with them, to make them better? Because in most cases, they could be smaller mom and pop shops that don't have the marketing expertise, are driving around in a rusted white van that has a pixelated logo on the side, and they don't have the same level of expertise or skills or capabilities that you've built over the 20 years. And now this third stage, I think, is this shift in terms of how do we raise all those boats?
Makes sense. So what kind of technology have you seen that's been effective as far as helping work with the channel partners for success?
Yeah, there's actually a category which I write about. I wrote a wave earlier this year called TCMA, Through Channel Marketing Automation. And when we look at it, there's about 35 companies who build TCMA software that really is dedicated towards the 27 industries. It is quite industry specific. And these pieces of software really automate a lot of this type of work. And like traditional marketing automation, it includes email and it includes social and search and syndication. It also involves some physical. There is still brochures and signage and TV and radio ads and everything else. But you take that whole bucket of marketing assets and tactics, and you need to govern that, and you need to have a different layer when you're doing it one to many, especially outside of your firewall. You've got to protect your branding guidelines. You've got to make sure that the security and the compliance and everything is built at scale. And then what's interesting is, we find that 2/3 of these local businesses don't have the capabilities. So we call it, do it for me or do it on behalf of me type of users, which is, I understand, that marketing is important. I don't really know how to do it, or I don't have the time to do it, or I don't even have the resource or capabilities to do it. So we've introduced another third party called a concierge or white glove service. It could be a digital agency that acts on behalf of that local business to be able to take the brand and to be able to execute at a local level. So the software is different than traditional marketing automation, and just in terms of how you run it at a global level and be able to transact with all of these third parties and enable them at scale. So that category, by the way, is the fastest growing marketing software category that Forrester tracks. Because
The
again,
TCMA? Are you talking about the TCMA or are you talking about the white glove service?
the TCMA, which is through channel marketing, is the fastest growing marketing category from a software perspective
That's
over the
interesting.
next 5 years.
And do you have any favorite vendors of those few dozen players out there,
Yeah,
or do you not like to talk about specific vendors?
no, I definitely talk about vendors all the time. I publish a channel software stack. So if you Google channel software stack, it'll come up number 1 and number 2 on Google. You can see a big infographic of all channel software companies. There's about 106 of them. And the 30 or so that I talked about here are definitely on that list. And, there are big players like Ensira, Aprimo. There are some very specific. So if you look in the technology industry, there is companies like Zift, ImPartner, Zinfi. There is, global companies that handle multiple industries, like a brand muscle, brand maker. But all of these companies, many of them also have digital agency backgrounds or creative type of backgrounds, but they also have a SaaS platform that they sell that automates this and enables you to scale your third party marketing.
Excellent. So what are what are the critical skill sets necessary to optimize these TCMA programs?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's the data that you collect, because what ends up happening, most companies' partnerships and alliances channels are pretty large. You may have thousands, you could have tens of thousands of partners when you look around the world, and each location looks somewhat customized in terms of what works. The ability to pull that back and learn from kind of what works and apply it to other situations. So if something's working, for example, a campaign with certain tactics is working in Wichita, Kansas, would you be able to pick that up and move it over to a town in Florida? And as you look across your partners and look at all the marketing that's going on and how they mix it, and the day by day measurements and management of it, are you able to gather those best practices almost in real time and push it across a larger audience? The ROI, the return on investment of these types of marketing campaigns, is pretty easy to track at a local level. And as you go to maybe sub-optimized places, maybe partners of yours that are not participating, you can definitely lay it out in terms of the mechanics and the tactics, and if they don't have the capability of doing it, introducing a third party that can do it on their behalf.
Excellent. So it's a combination of data, or more to the point, intelligence, the tools for marketing outreach, and then I guess the white glove, or the marketing um, advice.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in total, we think, we're seeing this today as about a $300 million software business. That's growing to be over $1 billion in the next 5 years, probably 1.2 billion. There's another billion or so dollars of services that those same 35 companies deliver with their software. And then the opportunity for digital agencies and other firms is about 2 billion. So the overall market is about $4.5 billion, by the year 2023, around these technologies. So it's pretty lucrative, and the margins are relatively high. And for many digital agencies, for example, that are seeing compression and seeing consolidation and things in their core businesses, this presents a pretty big opportunity for them.
Excellent. It sounds like it's a great market. It's growing. It's very much ABM best practices, and it's nice to hear you're on top of everything, and you sound like a great resource for anybody who's going to be doing some research of where to head next. So we
Yeah,
appreciate the insight.
yeah, and I'm excited about ABM, expanding to include channels. Again, there's a lot of influence that happens through the buying journey that isn't directly inside the organization. So you've done the work and you understand who the buying group is and who the internal influencers are. But on average, there could be 5, 10, 20 different companies externally that are influencing the buying decision as well, making recommendations, adding expertise, whatever it may be. And as you're looking at your own ABM approach, you have to understand who these third parties are, and perhaps recruit them as partners, not only to win that account, but you might find and be surprised that they're working on 5 other accounts and influencing them as well. And these future partnerships for you as an organization, as a salesperson, are critical in terms of expanding your territory and getting an army of feet on the street to help you.
Beautiful. Well, that's great stuff. So I look forward to seeing you at the B2B MX. For everybody who's interested, Jay's presentation's on Wednesday, February 27th in Scottsdale on through channel marketing. And I think it's going to be a great topic. And I encourage everybody to attend.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and look forward to seeing you there.